Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. This time talking episode 21 of The Flash called Grodd Lives. And this is another one of those things that we probably thought we would never see live action Gorilla Grodd. Obviously in this episode, let's save talking about Grodd for a little later. This episode, I really like how they put it that Grodd is meant as a distraction for Team Flash, because it's sort of also serving as a distraction for us, the audience, to kind of hide the fact that this episode is mostly filler, so that they can circle around things just a little bit more before they really go bananas on the last two episodes of the season. Because really, not a huge amount of stuff happens this episode. This episode really is basically mostly about, in terms of things that actually move the story forward in significant ways, the fallout of Iris finding out that Barry is the Flash. And honestly, I do like the way this episode handles that whole situation. I mean, yeah, Iris is pissed, but justifiably so. But she's not irrationally pissed. For the most part. When she kind of gets in Joe's face about, like, Barry's been in love with me for all of these years, how come you never told me? Joe is totally correct when he says, that was not my secret to tell. And, I kind of think it's a little unfair to label the fact that Barry had more than brotherly feelings for her as lying to her. He wasn't being completely honest with her, but I think there's a difference between that and being a lie. And it's even as Barry says in this episode, all that time he genuinely was her best friend. But there was a part of him that he kept hidden from her. And, you can really debate whether or not he should have told Iris that. But I don't think Barry was doing anything disingenuous. It wasn't a case of, you have romantic feelings for someone, so you act as their friend in order to get closer to them so that you can, make your move and hopefully be with them. What people like to call the nice guy tactic. We're not going to get into that because I don't feel like trying to juggle that particular hot potato. But the problem with that is that you're going into that with less than pure motives. You're going in there pretending that all you want from someone is friendship, when really you want them to return romantic feelings towards you. Again, that's disingenuous. And Barry was never disingenuous. Iris is his best friend. There's basically, apart from Joe, nobody in the world that he is closer to. It's just, there was more to those feelings. And keep in mind, keeping this to himself wasn't something that Barry did because it made him happy. It made him miserable. But it was just the question of, is this a real thing? I mean, we've seen Barry pursue relationships with other people. His girlfriend was Linda Park for a while. He was seriously attracted to Felicity. So, I think it's kind of one of those situations where he just was never able to quite 100% put these feelings behind him. Obviously he tried to move on. He tried to form real and genuine relationships with other women. And he really did seem to care about Linda. He obviously formed an amazing connection with Felicity, but it is kind of like how it is put in this episode. He just can't talk. He basically had never really dealt one way or another definitively with his feelings for Iris, and that was kind of the real crux of the situation. And Barry does raise kind of a fair point that, Iris, you haven't exactly been honest with me about your feelings for me. Now, Iris does make the rather reasonable counter. It's like, you've been feeling this way about me for a hell of a long time. Me feeling differently about you, this seems to be a new thing. And I'm not 100% sure exactly how true that is. But nonetheless, I think Iris does have a somewhat valid point there. In any case, it all really comes down to just sort of why people do what it is they do. And, intention does count for a lot. It's not everything, of course. The road to hell is paved with good intentions and all of that. But while it's not good to lie to people we care about, the question, of course, is, well, why did you tell that lie? And Joe and Barry have been lying to Iris because they think this is something that's going to protect her. Okay, well, now we're moving into the superhero side of things. So I kind of think Barry just I don't know what to do with these feelings I have for Iris, so I'm not going to tell her. There really is no ill intent there. So I really can't really hang anything bad on Barry for that. I mean, I think we've all kind of been in a situation where we had feelings for someone that we knew just kind of as only a friend or something like that, or as an acquaintance, and for whatever reason, we chose to keep those feelings to ourselves. I mean, I don't think that as soon as you realize, oh my goodness, I have romantic feelings for this person, you're under some, automatic obligation to go and inform this person immediately. Because life is complicated, and that's not always an option. And a lot of times that's not going to be a good idea for a multitude of reasons. But again, every situation is different. Now, here's the whole thing that really gets me, though, is, as Iris points out, well, how exactly was her not knowing that Barry was the Flash going to keep her safe? And she even says, don't you think I would have been better off knowing this so that I could be in a, be able to protect myself better by myself? And we've seen Iris is pretty reasonably capable of looking after herself. She handled Tony Woodward pretty well. About as well as, somebody with no powers could handle a metahuman. And, this is something we see time and time again in superhero stories. I can't tell the friends and the people I love that I'm a superhero in order to protect them. How the hell does this protect them? Really? I mean, can we just stop for a second and think about how much simpler Peter Parker's life if he just been freaking gone and told Aunt May he was Spider-Man the week after it happened and just come clean with her? Yeah, and or like Jaime Reyes, Blue Beetle. Well, after he got his powers, basically going and telling his family what had happened to him was one of the first things that he did. He had to kind of work out agreements with his parents so that he could sort of do his school stuff and be a superhero. That was interesting. And, here it is. It kind of just, once again, blows up in their faces that Iris didn't know what was going on. So, yeah, points to Iris for that one. And, speaking of, one last thing on Iris. How in the name of God did she just stroll into Star Labs like that? I mean, I really want to know, are Caitlin and Cisco the only people that work there? I've asked this before. But, if you're going to have, a place that's going to be the base of operations for a superhero and you want to keep his identity a secret, maybe you should do something like lock some doors. I mean, granted, she's a frequent visitor there. She might have had some sort of a key card or something to get in. There are a number of plausible reasons that she could, have access there. But still, seriously. It was also fun watching Caitlin and Cisco sort of, okay, we need to find some ridiculous justification so that we can snoop on Barry and Iris because this is so frickin' juicy. And of course, Cisco is absolutely going nuts with the references to movies this episode. And we did get a little nice moment with Caitlin there. Now Joe, again, most of this is just him dealing with his daughter being pissed at him. It was also really pretty sad and kind of scary just watching him be scared out of his wits by Grodd. I mean, he's literally crying. He is so terrified. And, Joe is a tough cookie, but then again, you've got the biggest, damn, meanest primate that ever lived, literally, staring you in the face, and something that could tear you apart in a minute. I don't think a lot of people get just how strong gorillas are. Man, you could pick the biggest guy in the NFL, the toughest dude in the MMA, and throw him at a gorilla simultaneously. Gorilla will tear those dudes apart. I mean, have you ever seen those nature shows and seen gorillas fighting? those things are mean sons of bitches. I mean, I don't know if I've mentioned it here in these reviews, but I've mentioned in some of my others that one time when I was at a zoo, I actually saw two elephants get into a fight. And these are like full-grown elephants. And you see something like that, and that is a reminder that nature is not to be screwed with. Animals are damn powerful, and if you are stupid and forget that, you're going to regret it. I mean, seriously, that is, yeah. Respect animals or they will F you up. So yeah, this message brought to you by PETA. Let's see. What else do we have to talk about? Well, we also get to see this episode that Eobard Thawne. I guess I want to call it. I hate trying to pronounce that guy's last name. Okay, so Eobard is a terrible host. I mean, he refuses to feed Eddie. I don't even want to think about how Eddie is using the bathroom tied up to that chair like that. But don't think about how people go to the bathroom is kind of one of the little unwritten rules of watching The Flash. So, yeah. But how freaky was that, seeing that his eyes glowing? Like, we thought that maybe had something to do with his costume. It's like, nope. That's just something the Reverse Flash does when he's really pissed off. And, yeah. And then, of course, Eobard has to take the time. It's like, oh, yeah, everybody in our family is awesome, except you. You suck. It's like, well, wow, you're a dick. On the other hand, it also means that Eddie's kids are going to grow up to be spectacularly successful. So, I guess Eddie was a good dad. Although, do keep in mind, it has been mentioned that Eddie actually had a rather well-off politician for a father. And so he, I guess, I think Eobard kind of like, yeah, you're the only Thawne that's not sort of not really notable. So, yeah, of course, one just have to kind of imagine that Eobard is probably not a guy to trust on situations like this. And in fact, he might even try to be manipulating Eddie to go down a darker road. I mean, a lot of people have been speculating that Eddie might become a Reverse Flash all of his own. He might become Cobalt Blue. It's really hard to tell. But again, Eddie in a way kind of feels like watching Tommy in season 1 of Arrow. I mean, basically, he's like a really nice guy, and just everybody around him just seems to take a dump on the guy. And even Eobard goes as far as like, "Hey, dude, yeah, Barry is totally gonna marry your girlfriend. The woman you were getting ready to propose to." And then he's just like, "Yep, better give Grandma Agnes's back her ring." It's just like, oh man, he's such a dick. I mean, he's also a murderous sociopath who also objects strongly to animal experimentation. I don't know, I guess they have more humane ways of dealing with stuff in the 25th century. This also was an episode that gave us a chance to see some more of Clancy Brown as General Eiling. And I love how he just strolls out of the pipeline. He's like, "Yeah, Barry, I totally know you're the Flash, but whatever. You might prove useful to me, so I'm not gonna do anything about it." Although again, and I complained about this in the episode with Plastique. Barry was like, "What did he do? Like take off his mask and all that other stuff?" Right there next to where Eiling was. I guess Eiling saw it and figured out who he was. So that's obviously going to be a plot point in the future. But I'm glad they didn't kill Eiling off. I think there's sort of a nice bit of potential for him as a reoccurring problem for the Team Flash. And he sort of would be a really convenient gateway to the more Argus, shadowy side of the DC universe, without that for the Flash. Basically, is kind of what I'm thinking. And let's see, what else? Oh yeah, we might want to talk about Grodd. So here, of course, on the show, Grodd's origin is stripped down very significantly. There is no Solovar, there is no Gorilla City, and as much as I might like those elements in the comics, they did make the right choice in in simplifying it. And while Grodd as a character is not hugely sketched out, we do get a basic idea that, he's not entirely evil. He's just taking orders from the Reverse Flash. He does acknowledge that Caitlin is a good person. And he presents a seriously formidable opponent for the Flash. I mean, punching him, that does absolutely nothing to Grodd. And as cheesy as it was, I did like the scene where Iris kind of gives Barry the strength to win the day. And this is something somebody pointed out to me, and we'll point it out online. I'm pretty sure they're right. The building that Grodd climbs at the very end of the episode, I think that really was the watchtower from Smallville, which was also, of course, filmed in the Vancouver area. When astronauts go out there to other planets one day and land and start exploring, if they don't land, if other planets don't look like the woods outside of Vancouver, there's going to be a part of me that's going to be really disappointed. So yeah, I mean, again, not the most move the major story forward episode there's ever been of The Flash, but if you're going to throw something out there that's basically filler, you could do a lot worse than episodes like this. So with that said, guys, I'm going to call it here. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and of course you can follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.